Built by horse players for horse players, AmWager is designed for speed, power, and ease of use. AmWager brings CAW-style tools to everyday horse players, including Dutching, ABC Ticket Maker, and Pro Percent, an advanced betting tool that lets you assign weighted percentages and build multiple structured wagers with a single click. Every month, AmWager turns the odds in your favor with 0% takeout on select tracks. These promos offer you up to $100 more for your winning bets and giving you value for your wagers not offered anywhere else. Rated 4.7 stars on Google with over 200 reviews, AmWager is trusted by horse players who expect more from their wagering platform. If you're looking for better tools and better value, you need AmWager. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit amwager.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 or older where applicable. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE.
Welcome to the Sport of Kings podcast, episode 363, sponsored by AmWager. Go to amwager.com to see all the promotions, including the Belmont Stakes giveaway, where you can win up to $250 in cash by opting in each day now through May 31st. As always, I welcome your feedback on Twitter/X. My handle is @Derby1592. This week, I'm joined by special guest Jason Beam, a fellow author, a fellow podcaster, and also the race caller at Tampa Bay Downs and soon at Colonial Downs here in a few weeks. We're going to talk about races 7 through 11, which includes 5 graded stakes on Saturday at Churchill Downs. Not too many tracks going through my head there. This Saturday, we're going to focus on finding and exploiting value. And we'll talk about our strongest handicapping opinions and how we might leverage those opinions using optimal betting strategies. Hi, Jason. How's it going?
Chris, it's good. Good to be with you. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I know you've had some surgery, been under the weather. You feeling better now?
I don't know. I wouldn't say better. Yeah, better than I was 2 weeks ago. It's been a little bit of a tough recovery. I had an infection and stuff, so it's been a little rough, and it's just been so ungodly hot down here. So it's like you just feel stuck in the house. So I'm ready for Virginia. I got about 2 weeks till I got to go to Colonial. So.
Yeah, not much of a vacation for you so far.
No, yeah, and yeah, this is usually kind of my favorite time of I have kind of two vacations. I got one in the spring and one in the fall when it comes to between Colonial and Tampa, and usually the one in the spring is my favorite because it's like all the minor league baseball teams around here playing. So I usually go to a ton of games, and I've gone to a few, but it's just like I said, I haven't been feeling great, and the weather's been just unseasonably hot down here. So, and then the fall, I'm going to go back to your part of the world for a few weeks. So I'm excited.
All right. We'll have to get together.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to miss Emerald though. Like I think Colonial and Emerald closed the same day, so I'm going to miss that. But looking forward to seeing my mom and my friends, and looking forward to some cold mornings.
Well, that time of year shouldn't be cold.
Oh, it's cool, the best. Yeah,
cool,
no,
right?
I go, but yeah, mid-September. I think I'm there.
The fall is the best.
It's the
weather.
best. I'm there mid-September till about the end of October, and it's the best time. I feel right when it starts raining, I'll leave.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Hey, it's nice to have that option. You know, you got it. You got that, the winter you can spend in Florida and spend some time in Washington in the fall. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I'm not trading schedules with anybody. For announcers, I'll put my schedule up against a lot of folks.
All right, so let's talk a little bit before we get started on this week's races. Derby and the Preakness. Any thoughts coming out of that race? Anybody you like or are going to fade going forward? Anything stand out in those two races?
I didn't think the Derby was the best edition of the race. I know it fell apart a little bit, but I just didn't think it was all that. I think maybe there are some horses that didn't run well there that might still be the best 3-year-olds of the season. I was a big emerging market fan going in, and I thought he kind of he didn't have a bad trip, but he was close up, and he just looked in an uncomfortable spot for a lot of the journey. So I'm really excited to see what he comes back to do. I think he's going to the Belmont. I haven't seen all the final.
Yeah, he's in there. I think you'll get a price on him.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what he does. I'm probably very biased because he debuted at Tampa, and it was one of those races where afterwards, like, I knew through the binoculars, like, between him and Power Shift, like, I just saw two really, really good horses. And so I will always admit that horses that I call, I tend to move up about 12 lengths.
Well, both of those horses are in the Belmont, and they both, I think, are legitimate, have legitimate chances, and they'll both be probably double-digit odds. So, I think you might be onto something there.
Yeah, I mean, I got to think Golden Tempo, because there was so much hype after the Derby, and he's the Derby winner. Like, I got to feel like he's going to get overbet, right?
Yeah, the woman first female trainer.
It's
Derby
an awesome
winner.
story, and I love Cherie, but just from a cold principled odds standpoint, I feel like it's going to be Underlay City.
Yeah, Underlay alert for sure on that horse. Ancestrally, there's no real speed signed on, so not going to get anything close to a setup, which the horse probably needs. So that one you probably want to fade, at least in the Derby. I mean, at least in the Belmont. Yeah, kind of in general, I think the Derby horses are kind of overrated to me coming out of that race, and the Preakness horses I think are better than people are giving them credit for. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But I think the top two in the Preakness are pretty good horses that people aren't giving them any credit. So we'll see. But I thought that the horses I thought were the two best going into the Derby, I still think are the two best. But we'll see about that. One of them we don't know.
You were a Further Ado guy, right?
Further Ado I think is the best of the U.S. horses, and I thought the Japanese runner was the best, and we won't get to see him again. But I thought that he ran a good race. The way he opened up at the head of the lane, and the way the race shaped up. Yeah. And he came out of it with an injury. So who knows, when he started feeling that, could have been, during the race. If so, what might have been, we'll never know. But, and I think Further Ado, he kind of lost all chance at start. I think he's going to redeem himself probably in the Haskell, which may end up being a really good race. We'll see. So
they get the Haskell. I mean, every year they get at least a few just monster names. I mean, because Baffert always sends some of his good ones over there. I've always thought that race plays a little shorter than it is, which sounds silly, but I feel like the race shape looks more like a mile and a 16th or a mile race than a mile and an eighth a lot of times, and speed can be pretty good in that race.
Yeah, they have a pretty relatively short stretch there, so it kind of makes sense. So anyway, we'll see. We'll get to see next week. We'll have another Derby at Saratoga, but I think Emerging Market has I agree with you. He was in a wrong spot. He was way too close early. Pratt was kind of aggressive and it backfired. And
there was somebody right as outside the whole. I just felt like he was kind of in the box the whole time.
Yeah. So I think he could improve. Of all the ones coming back out of that race, to me, he and Commandment probably had the toughest trips. Everyone's going to say it's Renegade, but I think Renegade ended up in the spot he wanted to be in, and he got a setup. And I don't think he had as bad a trip as people are making out to be. I think Commandment kind of had a tougher trip. Same with Emerging Market in terms of being in the right position and stuff. So, but we'll see. We'll see when it comes up. I'm leaning towards someone that's not in the Belmont on one of the horses that didn't run in the Derby. So we'll see. We'll talk about that one next week.
I was gonna say you still got time. Preview.
That's right. Got plenty of time. We don't even know the final field yet.
Yeah, I think they draw Monday or something. I think they draw the rest of the kind of weirdly. They draw all the other races first, and then the Belmont the next day. Which I know they want to make the draw a big thing, but I don't know.
But that's maddening to horse players.
Yeah,
because you don't get any PPs or anything for another day, right?
It's maddening to podcast hosts too, Chris. Because I got to do my Belmont preview the next day.
Yeah. So I mean, just if I don't get it. I don't get this. I don't think hardly anybody watches those things.
I get the draw as an event, like for the connections, and it's fun to have a dinner or a banquet. Like I totally get that, but I don't. I saw some people before the Derby like talking about like, why isn't this a bigger thing with fireworks? And I'm like, I just don't think people care like at that level. And I'm all for trying stuff, but I don't think that's it.
Yeah. So anyway, on Monday we'll know the field. We just won't know the post position. And we won't have any PPs, at least not any final ones. All right. So before we get going, I do like to give the guests a chance to kind of talk about how they evaluate races, how they, decide if they were going to bet, how they would bet, and kind of their betting strategy. So at a high level, kind of describe how you do it, and so the listeners can get an idea of how you approach the game.
I don't know if I have a high level of handicapping. I'm usually pretty. I was thinking about it when I listened to the show last week, and I was like, from Dylan Donnelly to me feels like one of the larger class drops in podcast handicapping history. But
you're being self-deprecating. You're sharp handicapper.
I think I can have a decent opinion sometimes, but like I do think that my best opinions come from replays or from seeing the horses, calling them. The one thing with calling races is you do miss a lot, and I'll be the first one to say that all the time, because like you're going horse by horse, you're identifying. Sometimes you got to look back to your program or the board. It's just you miss a lot, but you also, I feel like, sometimes get a pretty good sense of like, man, that was really impressive, just visually, or you could tell the horse was traveling well. And even in the first race we're going to talk about, there was a horse that I called that I'm kind of intrigued by. But I'm a Brisnet and optics user. Those are kind of my two main things. And then I just use to inspire. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say the TBS word.
No, that's fine. You can mention anybody you want.
For the replays, and so I use that quite a bit, and I think my better opinions come from replays. I'm one who, time wise, look, I'm never going to be able to dedicate the time I need to be like a really good handicapper. That's why I talk about, like, when I work with people like Caitlin and stuff, like they're watching every race multiple times, like between the show and calling races. I'm just not doing that. And so, but I do think that my better opinions tend to come from that, because there's just so much that you can pick up that's not in the past performance lines. And I think it's just I know that one of the things you talked about in your book is kind of like, finding, is there price still left from trip handicapping and videos and stuff like that? And I do think that there's still a little bit left on that bone. Because I think 10, 15 years ago, I think that was kind of the big option in terms of maybe getting some separation, because it was like speed figures and trouble everybody kind of knew about.
Yeah, I think the reason there's still some meat on the bone is because that's something that it's still hard to model in a computer. Now, I'm not saying they won't get there or they're not making progress, but that visual stuff, the humans still have an advantage probably. So, and that's your biggest competition in the pool. So I agree with you. Is there anything in particular, the kinds of things you're looking for in terms of subtle trips that you might help you identify value?
One thing I've paid more attention to lately, and this was something I kind of learned on my show, which it'll sound kind of ridiculous because it is kind of a basic tenet of especially turf handicapping, but is ground saving. I think that at some of the tracks I've worked at, you see these big catapult moves, and you might just get like Chad Brown horses running against Tampa horses that are just better, and so they can lose 4 or 5 paths, circle them, and still win. But I had Miguel Clement on a while ago, and he was talking about how he's just like a major stickler for that, and thinks it's just the most important thing. And since then, I just feel like I've noticed a lot of times that horses that might still look like they're traveling well, those extra couple of paths, they do end up catching up on you. And the horse that I'm kind of most zeroed in on in the sequence here that we're going to talk about was kind of a sufferer of that in the last race. So that's been one I find that I watch a lot more now is kind of ground loss, whether it's subtle or not. It just seems like I maybe undervalued it a little bit in terms of handicapping with turf for a long time.
Yeah, most of the top turf trainers really value saving ground. You mentioned Chad Brown. He might let him do that when he's much the best, but he wants his riders to save ground. That's one of the reasons, IRAD is so good at saving ground. That part rider gets to ride in with for Chad Brown, although Pratt's now probably his main guy. But I mean, those top turf riders all value saving ground. This doesn't mean they always park on the rail.
Yeah.
If they have, the 3 to 5 shot, they might ride a little more conservatively, and keep out of trouble. But
I noticed it at Tampa with our Samuel Marin, who's been our leading jockey the last couple of years. He rides a lot for Chad at Tampa, and he started riding for Shug and some of those guys up north. And there's so many times where he's back seventh or eighth going into the far turn, and they come into the lane, and I look, and there's somebody down there who's made up 4 or 5 spots, and it's only because of saving ground, because everybody else tipped out. And it was amazing to me how often I'd look down and it was his horse, and it just, to me, that was such a glaring thing that he was doing on the regular that was turning into victories or just, better positions. Because a lot of times it does open up for you. Sometimes it won't, but a lot of times you will find your seam.
Yeah, and some of it's luck, but the top riders, especially guys like Pratt and Irad, they know who not to get behind and who to be behind, and when to ease off the rail. They're paying attention, and they do their homework, so they're less likely to get caught, in a bad spot. And so so they're good at saving ground and staying out of trouble. Some guys will pin themselves to the rail no matter what, and they're not nearly as smart about it. Yeah. And they tend to get in trouble a lot more. And there's a couple of those guys. I won't pick on them here, but that they're good at that. They are value saving ground. They're just not good at it necessarily. Yeah. So that's a good one. No, I think where it really comes in, and people don't value it as much as in turf sprints. I mean, pressing a hot pace wide in a turf sprint is just a no chance trip, and that happens a lot. And I think, that's something that's really worth looking for. And I've cashed in a lot of turf sprints on, horses that are likely to get that trip playing against them, or horses that have been getting that trip and might not this time, playing them back. So I
see a lot of Gulfstream in the winter in those 5/8 races. Like you can't be that far off, and you can't be 3 or 4 wide in those races. I mean, it just seems really, really tough to you get. I think it's just a fast track, and it's a short distance, and obviously there's some good horses there too. But that to me is always the one where if you're 3 deep going to the turn, man, you're in troubleville.
Yeah. So you did mention my book, so you gave me the opportunity to pretend like I wasn't going to talk about it if you didn't mention it, but I was.
It's a professional broadcaster.
And you talked about and I have different handicapping chapters or sections. And one of the themes I have in there is that, a lot of the edges you uncover through certain handicapping methods, when they first were sort of developed, they provided a big edge, but that edge kind of evaporates over time as other players start using it. And at some point, it's pretty much baked into the odds unless you're doing something, quite a bit different than what most people are doing. And that trip handicapping is a great example. I mean, when I was first starting, there wasn't even VCRs, so all you could do was watch the race at the track and take some notes. And if you did that and you were good at it, it gave you a big edge. That's very different than today, where you can just click on the PPs and watch every race, right while you're handicapping the night before, kind of thing.
Yeah, so, my dad used to always make me tape the 11 o'clock, Joe Withey show. Yeah, because and it's funny. I even talked about this the other day. You'd be at the track and you watch the race. There wasn't a big screen in there. And so usually you had the low ground level view of the race, and then you'd go home and watch it. It's like, oh, this looked totally different than, than what I watched down at the, ground level.
Yeah, for sure. So, I know you're not through the book. You said you're like, third of the way through. I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? Anything kind of get you thinking differently, or just wanted to hear anything you might have to say about the book?
Well, what was neat is I feel like I've interviewed 80% of the people you've had on there. And so I had a friend that texted, he said, what do you think of Laramie's book so far? And his question was, is it a lot of the stuff we've heard or no, or is it a lot of new stuff? And I found as I was going that I felt like each chapter there was something that either I hadn't thought of a long time or just hadn't flat out heard of. And so, so far I was really excited about it, just because it did seem like you were kind of covering some new ground for me as someone who's had a lot of those conversations with a lot of those people. And I'm really excited to get to the betting part of things. And, because to me, I feel like that in the last 7 or 8 years has kind of been where the interesting conversations are happening. I don't think I think it's hard to have a lot of the interesting handicapping conversations, because I think we've had a lot of them, but betting, which I know you were real focused on when you started the Bet with the Best podcast, to me, that's where a lot of the most interesting conversations are happening. It's a lot of the best conversations I've had on my show. And so I messaged my buddy back. I was like, I'm like 60 pages in so far. And, I think I'm about 100 pages in now, but just been kind of, reading a chapter or two. And I feel like each time I'm at least finding something that was new or triggering a memory I hadn't really thought of. I mean, even just Tommy Massis, the part where he was talking about kind of races falling apart and looking for scores and stuff like that. I remember I talked with him about that, but it's like sometimes when you're doing an interview, you're not actually, listening to every little detail because you're worried about the next question. But there was some really good refreshers and like I said, some new ground that was kind of exciting to see. So I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Well, that's good to hear. And part of what I was trying to do is for the people who haven't necessarily listened to the podcast or talked to these people before, kind of summarize what they're thinking. Do you think, since you have talked to these people, did I do a good job of summarizing some of the things they said?
For sure. Well, it's funny because, like you said, like I know their voices, right? So it's like when when Inside the Pylons is talking, like I know how he talks. Yeah, Chris, let me tell you, it's gonna, you just listen, pal. And so, but like, and so like for that, I'm reading it in those people's voices, which I think, if you read a celebrity biography, right, you read it in the person's voice. And so that part's fun. But I kind of skimmed through a lot of like their backstories just because I think I kind of knew a lot of that stuff. But like especially some of maybe the older names are, folks I haven't interviewed or talked to. So those ones I spent a little more time in the biography section, but mostly kind of wanted to get down to, when you're talking to Craig Milkowski about speed figures or timing or with Benny South Street about trips and stuff, then I would kind of more dig in and listen to what they're saying. And Benny and Emily are two of the, I think, and David Aragona are probably two or three, in my opinion, the people I've learned the most from when it comes to trip handicapping. Yeah,
they're really good, and all three of them are there's wisdom from them in the book along with a lot of other sharp people. So that's good to hear. And because that's exactly what I've been trying to do is get people think a little bit differently. And for those, and I'll try to summarize in one place, and organize it in a way where it was readable. All these different thoughts from different players that many of them have very different ideas about how you approach the game. And that's to me, the most interesting part is just the diversity. Mm-hmm. And how everybody has to find their own way, and that there's a lot of different ways to be successful. And for me, that's cool. And it's exciting that anybody out there, you can find your own way, and it's what it takes really. You have to be a little bit unique. Yeah. You have to get out there in front of the crowd. You can't be like everybody else and be successful. It's not a one size fits all game at all.
Well, we talked about that. I can't remember if it was an email or a text or something, but it just that idea of like, you have to change and move with the times. And I think just in life in general, I feel like I've been having that lesson taught to me a few times the last couple of years. Like I think when you're younger, you think like, okay, I'm just going to get good at something, and then I'm just going to be good at it for 20 years, right? Or 30 years, and then I'm going to retire. And it's like, boy, that's just, life will not be like that because things change fast. And like, if you don't kind of adapt and change again with everything, I mean, even like, I've been doing a weight loss the last many, many years. And, like, think about how different the approaches are to diet now than and exercise than they were 20 years ago. I mean, when I was first, a younger person, it was like, no fat and it was, vegetables and green, grilled chicken and this, that, and the other. And like, now it's like, no, you can do low carbs, or, I mean, there's just a lot of different ways and different thoughts about it now. And then I think that's going to be true with horse playing and stuff as we've learned, like the landscape is just different and the public's better informed. And it's like you said, you have to, I mean, well, I think you said about the dinosaurs. That was your quote you said to me.
Yes. We can be a dinosaur and become extinct, right? Yeah. Survival is not mandatory.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think, and what I talk about in the book, the gambler's mindset, that's what makes you successful as a horse player, but that's what makes you successful in life is that ability to be looking for, where you can get an edge as things change and getting out in front of it before others catch up. That's how you're successful at anything, and including being a horse player. So, but to me, it's that gambler's mindset. People always think of gambling as being sort of a negative thing, but
yeah.
Everybody's life is a gamble. You are always taking on risks to accomplish anything, and being able to understand how to assess risk and make decisions about risk and reward and managing risk over the long term. Those are things you have to do as a gambler to be successful as a horse player, but you got to do that to be successful in anything.
Yeah.
So, it's not surprising that, successful horse players probably could have been successful at a lot of other things, and people are successful at other things that get the bug to be a horse player can become very good horse players because it's the same skill set, really, and mindset.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I think some of the better thinkers I've learned from in this have been, like you said, Pylons and Tony Zhou and those type of guys. Like, they're just fun to listen to because like I said, their outlook is very different than, they see things very differently than I do. And so I've kind of had to learn to try to, just learn from them. And it's like you said, it's great in racing, but I feel like it's much more valuable in life.
Yeah, right. And you can carry it over both ways. Both ways. All right. So before we get one last thing, I like to talk about the betting menu. Churchill Downs has penny breakage, which is great. All the Kentucky tracks have that. They do have one player-friendly wager, the late $3 pick 3. That higher minimum and low is nice. That makes it a little less friendly to the CAWs. So we'll be talking about the last 3 races. So that's one bet you might want to keep in mind. A warning though that their CAW teams are active in all the pools. So that raises, the standard. You have to make sure you pick your spots because you always got competition in every pool. So keep that in mind. And with that, let's move on to the races. And we're going to cover 5 grade 3 stakes. They're all preps for stakes races that will be on the big Stephen Foster card, which is now a $2 million race. It kicks off with race 7, the grade 3 Mint Julep, 1 16th on the turf for fillies and mares. It looks like there's 3 favorites. No, none of them are standouts. On the morning line, anyway, the 3 Pinup Betty, the 4 Maduro, and the 5 Proctor Street. What do you think of those? Is there one of those that stands out for you? Is there somebody else you're looking at? What are you thinking about this race?
Yeah, of those ones, Pinup Betty was the one that I thought was maybe the best one. We saw Proctor Street here at Tampa in the Hillsboro and got run down by Destino d'Oro, who had like a bad trip, like had trouble on the far turn and had to still wheel around. And I think the other horse was Whiskey Decision, who ran second, was kind of coming up the fence. And so I thought that Proctor Street had like the winning trip of those 3 and got beat by all of them. So was against that one in the Modesty and still ran pretty good, didn't win. But I just don't, she's kind of it's that classic, she could win and I wouldn't be surprised. But, but like, I think at a shortish price, I would probably steer elsewhere. I was really intrigued by Charlene's Dream in this spot. It was our Beverly D winner at Colonial last summer. She got away with, a really easy trip that day. And it was kind of one of those ones where there were some good horses behind her. I think she ended up being second choice that day, but like she just freewheeled and kicked and won. But then comes back, shortens up to a mile, doesn't get the lead, doesn't run all that great. And then last time out I have to assume the Giants Causeway was just a total prep race. The fact she was 8-1 is kind of surprising. That seems like decent money on a horse who really hadn't turf sprinted in a long time, and if ever. And so I think getting back to a little longer distance, and I don't see a ton of speed in the race. I think she's very, very interesting as a gate to wire candidate. I know the outside horse is probably going to want to go too. I think her having the inside position, if she can get to the turn on level terms or just a little bit ahead and kind of cut the corner on the 9, I think could be kind of dangerous. The other thing that was tough for me in this race is, like, to me, the 2 is just a complete, I don't know. I don't follow European racing hardly at all. And these are always the races where it's like, okay, it's Cherie. Like I know what everybody else knows, right? I know it's Cherie, and I know she's decent with European shippers, and I know John Velasquez is on board. But that makes these kind of races always really tough for me because I am guessing when it comes to the overseas horses.
Yeah, a couple things on. I agree with the top 3 favorites. Proctor Street's the one I like the least, so I'm with you there. One thing about the 1 horse, the 9 Stylish Sue, is the other horse with
Yeah.
speed, but she's cross-entered in a race at Woodbine. So
Oh, okay.
if she were to scratch, that would certainly increase the chances of the one horse maybe getting loose early. So that's something to keep an eye on. If the 9 scratches, then if you like the one, even with the 9 in there, you should like the one even more with
Yeah.
that one out.
Yeah. I just think she's kind of ripe to go out and take him on a merry chase. We're only going to get the one grass race. I think the Audubon, the 5th race, is the only grass race before this. So I know it's not supposed to rain Thursday or Friday, so there is a chance for some Saturday. But I would guess if the rain doesn't show up till Saturday, they should be all right as far as being on the turf. But just in terms of how it might be playing.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Churchill, I used to make fun of their turf course, but
it seems like it's settled in.
It has really settled in and become maybe the best course in the country in terms of handling the weather.
I talked to our turf guy at Tampa, and he was telling me, he goes, it takes years for the seed to really get strong underneath, because they were having those problems the first couple of years after the remodel, and his whole thought process was it just takes a while for that to really take underneath there and get kind of a strong I mean, believe me, you can see my yard. I don't know anything about growing grass, but actually this time of year when it starts raining every night, it grows very fast. But that was kind of our turf guy's impression. So I think that was one of those things where it just took a few years to kind of get everything kind of real strong underneath.
Yeah, I think they have gotten that, and they built it so it would drain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And well, that's Chris, I went to a Phillies Braves game in Atlanta Braves. There was more rain than I'd ever seen in my life. It was 2 hours of just complete downpour, and they played 45 minutes after it stopped. There is now I know horse racing and baseball are a little different, but there is drainage now technology, I feel like, and of course it's going to take tracks, like Churchill investing and stuff, but you can get some pretty great drainage out there now.
Well, Hong Kong is a great example. They get a lot of rain, and they seldom, if ever, or they have to run.
Because they're only turf, right?
Yeah. Well, they do have some, I don't know if you call it dirt synth racing at one of the tracks, but not very much. It's almost all, one of the tracks is all turf.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of, they can have hellacious kind of downpours and still run. So you're right. It's the technology's there, and it seems like Churchill has applied it. Now that the grass has had a chance to really take root, it seems like they've got a great turf course. So
yeah,
that's good. You did mention that Euro horse favorite memo. I like that horse a lot, but it really is, I think, it's going to be better when they go longer.
Yeah, because she's going to what would be 3 turns most of the time.
Right. So, but Fresh, she might be sharp enough to get in here. She's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
But I would like her a lot more at 1.25 miles or more than at this. This is probably just a prep for her, so I wouldn't get too excited. But at 8-1, I think there's a little value there. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see her win. So if I could get 8-1. But I think I will, given the connections.
I was kind of intrigued by the 7 a little bit too, the In the Stars, the George Arnold horse, just because seems like she's kind of figured it out a little bit once they moved her to turf. And I know her one graded start was kind of her worst of the turf starts, but I didn't think it was that bad considering they went pretty slow. And Lush Lips is a grade 1 winner, and then the other horse, Pretty Picture's pretty nice. So I thought maybe that was the price option in this race, other than the win.
Yeah, actually, I think you can make a case for any of them having, even even the 1 and the 9. If one of those two were to clear, they could win the race, right?
Yeah, the 1 was my top hope, at least in this one.
But even the 9, if they gunned her out and they decided they wanted to rate the 1, especially, she just had the 1 sprint as a prep. Maybe they're a little bit nervous. So but certainly if the 9 scratches, I think the 1 wouldn't be shocked at all to see that horse wire the field, because there's really nobody else in the field that wants to be near the lead, right? There's it's hard to not see her as long as they don't decide they don't want to send her clearing early, right? And Giroux, that's kind of, he's likely to send from the rail, I would think. So I would be very interested in that one if the 9 scratches. If the 9 doesn't, I have a feeling that she's going to be putting a lot of pressure on that 1 horse. So that might be tough. But with the 9 out, the 1 becomes really dangerous, I think. So is there anything in here what would be a price on the one horse that you would need to play that horse?
Well, I think if the 8 comes down, the 1's odds are coming down, or the 9 rather comes out. Then just because, again, I think everybody's going to see that the horse is the likely lone speed. Plus, there's just one less horse in the race for the money to get distributed about. But they lined the horse at 12-1. I was hoping for 8 or more.
Yeah, you might get that. You might be about 8-1 if they scratch the 9. If the 9 stays in, I think you could get double-digit odds on that horse.
Because you're right. I mean, the Proctor Street and Medoro are going to be the two that take the most money out. And Peanut Betty, I guess you can argue.
Yeah,
too.
Peanut Betty.
Yeah.
Those 3, and I agree. Maybe. What's that?
That Cox horse too toward the outside, just because it's Cox and Irad.
Oh yeah, right.
I didn't like that
Treasure.
horse of the group though.
Yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't shock me if it won.
No,
but it's not one I think offers any value.
Oddly enough, that horse used to show a fair bit of speed going long, and then all of a sudden now it's just turned into, almost a stone cold closer.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of trip they try. I read what he tries to do on there. I have a feeling he'll ride her cold. So, All right. So maybe the one horse could be a play depending on price in here for you.
Yeah.
All right. All right, let's move on to the next race. Quite a bit different. This one is another grade 3. They're all grade 3s. This one's on the dirt, sprinting 6 furlongs for older horses. And this race, Roll On Big Joe's the morning line favorite. I really think the 2 Cornucopian is going to be the favorite. Yeah. He seems to be kind of a likely strong favorite. He's coming out of a much, much, much tougher race. What do you think about
that? Was
him
the tough race of the weekend, right? The Churchill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was the famed T.O. Elvis bet down. Oddly enough, I think this horse went off the same price as T.O. Didn't they both go off at 5-1?
They could have. Yeah. They were definitely going different directions on the odds board when they met in the middle, I guess. So.
Yeah, I guess the shortening up, from 7 to 6, it's a different race, but I can't imagine Roll On Big Joe's not going to try to hook Madhouse like they did last time, and especially being drawn outside of him again. I feel like that's a very big possibility. And Durante's going to show speed. There's a solid amount of foot in here. And Maddocket Road's one I don't like at all on the win end, but like you got to figure he's going to at least be forwardly placed. But I think Cornucopian maybe sits the trip in here too. So I thought he was going to be kind of tough. I did like Roll On Big Joe just because I thought he was going to go by Madhouse last time, and Madhouse, kind of kicked back, and they were kind of separated from each other for a little ways down the stretch there late. But I don't know. I just was trying to think maybe maybe Churchill's a course that Roll On Big Joe's run a little bit better on. He's run fine at Oaklawn too, but he's been nails at Churchill.
He's been pretty solid horse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has no upside, and he's been kind of lucky to be in. All those last 3 or 4 races have all been pretty slow paces early.
Yeah.
And I think that he and Madhouse maybe they're going to set the same kind of pace, but I don't think there's horses like that. There's some better horses in this race, I think, than they had trying to catch them in those races. Well,
like Tejano Twist running 2nd and 3rd the last couple against, like I like Tejano Twist. I think he's like just a cool horse, but he gets way back and often just kind of plods up for his spot. I know he won a couple in a row this year, but I feel like he's always going to be late to the party against this better kind of horses.
Yeah, he needs either a setup against good horses or just being a bunch that he can run down.
He's such a neat horse, though, man. What a career he's had.
He is. You kind of dissed Maddocket Road, kind of tossed him aside.
I like that horse.
What is it you don't like about that horse? Because
I just feel, I don't know. I guess he's been in a lot tougher, but to me, he just always seems like one of those ones that's kind of around, but doesn't really win.
Yeah, but you're second best. He was second best to Patch Adams in the Woody Stevens. But Patch Adams, pretty good horse. He beat a lot of good horses in that race. He was. He was.
I guess I'm thinking on the win end, and I just don't. I don't see him there. But
yeah, I have. He to me, he kind of has the golden pattern. Second off the layoff, he might get ignored. With the other Baffert.
The other Baffert.
And he drew outside. And he's a speed horse that drew outside. And if Madhouse and Roll On Big Joe hook it up, he might get a dream trip.
Maybe he gets first run.
Yeah. If they don't, they try to slow it down. Maybe Irad gets aggressive and sends him. So I just think he might be the one that gets overlooked of the contenders. To me, he doesn't win as much as Roland Big Joe, but Roland Big Joe would probably have finished behind him in a lot of these races he's running. I mean, he's been running in grade 1 races, right? Grade 1, grade 1, grade 1, grade 1. That's all
he's
he
often,
runs
it feels like, been the other Baffert.
Right.
Because you see Barnes and you see, I think, was it Goal ran at a Baffert horse too?
Yeah, and remember, they were trying to stretch him out, and he's not a route horse. And he still was running respectable races, a second in the Rebel, and he ran a third in the RB Lewis, and he ran a fourth behind Tapan Street and Sovereignty in the Florida Derby. So, it's not like he wasn't going to win those races. He wasn't a two-turn horse, but
his two wins are at 6 furlongs. But those are his 2 easiest races too, right?
Right. But look what happens when he gets class relief. He can win. It's not like he can't win. His comeback race was in it softer, but he won, right? And he won pretty impressively. So
14 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, he should have won, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like he's never faced good horses. In fact, he's been faced better horses than he has in here, except for maybe Cornucopian. So, to me, it's those two. The Baffert horses are going to run. They're the two to beat. And I don't think Cornucopian's going to be a price. He's going to be probably 8-5 or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Matticat Road, I think, is the one that might get overlooked a bit. And if he did that, to me, at 9-2, there's some value there. If he were to float up above that, I could maybe play him. I'm not as negative as you are on him. And, I really like the pattern. I talked about golden pattern. You haven't got to that part in the book. Well, yeah, you have got through that on the book. Yeah. So, he's got a golden pattern. And he had that nice, easy comeback race. And now this is where, he's going to run big, I think. So we'll see. All right. Anything else on that? So is there anything playable in that race? Didn't sound like you had
I didn't. There was a couple races in the sequence that I thought were kind of just not lack of conviction. I guess there was 2 or 3 races I liked, and there was a couple I didn't.
Yeah. In fact, these first 2 we've talked about are the ones I really don't have much of an opinion on. I probably wouldn't be betting either of those races unless, Matticat Road were to float up.
Yeah.
But I think the next 3 races are a little more interesting from a betting standpoint. So let's get into those. We haven't yet got to your horse. I have a feeling your horse is in this race. So.
Yeah. Dan Dona, the 6 horse.
All right. So we're in another grade 3 stakes race. This one is going 9 furlongs on the turf, but for 3-year-olds only, fillies. And you're already tipped your hand early. You're liking the 6 Dandona. So what is it you like about her? I think you talked about wide trips. So she had one, right?
Yeah. I mean, I saw this horse at Tampa and kind of had a wide trip there too, and it was able to overcome it and won pretty nicely. And that was just the 3rd career start. And I kind of like this horse in that last race and just kind of broke. The comment says bump start wide. And I mean, that's kind of what happened, but I just felt like the horse was like 3 or 4 deep on both turns, and coming out of the final turn really was kind of wide. And for a bit down the home stretch, I thought was running on. I mean, I know according to the chart, gained 3 lengths from the 8th to the finish. Again, those are a lot of times when the chart caller gets to the 8th horse for the stretch call, they're nearing the wire. So it's like they're guessing a little bit sometimes. And I know they go back and look at the videos, but she was gaining ground and she was doing so. Tam Tim, who's in this race, was right up on the pace and kind of stayed there. I think that if I remember right, I watched the replay the other day, but the winner kind of was saving ground, kicked out and ran him down late. Imagine the lady, but I just thought this horse I thought it was a bad ride. I think getting the other brother will help. And I think a better trip helps this one. And I know you've talked about recently, the Saf man has been pretty dangerous wherever he goes.
Yeah, he has been really and not every horse, but a lot of them are running, and not just running, just running monster races. Like, on the Hollywood Gold Cup this week, the horse just freaked out.
That one, it looked like you could tell at the quarter pole, like they were just cruising and everybody else was pumping. It was like, this is curtains.
Yeah, that was just sort of like Claret Beret race. I mean, she was like loaded. And White Barrio, I mean, they're just loaded horses, and they just take off when they turn for home. So, that so there's a lot to like. And I don't know about the ride so much the ride. There's another horse inside of her that carried her out on that first turn. I wouldn't blame the rider because he was trying to get over, and that horse just forced her wide. And he was just nothing he could do. He got kind of pushed out, and the horse made a move on the turn. So
no, I thought she came with a run. She just, like I said, she covered so much ground, and I think just at the very end was kind of just not gaining on him. But yeah, like I said, she left an impression with me at Tampa, and as I said, I always move those horses up probably.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
There's a little too. It's bad. I know. It's complete announcer crap, but she finds herself pretty far back in all her races. She's only gonna have to pass 8. This is actually, I think, the second smallest field she's ran against. She's pretty or maybe the smallest. Yeah, this would be the smallest field she's run against. She ran against 9 in her maiden, I guess, but so at least if anything, maybe some less traffic, but sometimes that means not as much of a setup too, so that could be an issue. But no, I liked her a lot in this spot. The other horse coming out of that race was that Indigo Woods, who was drawn way to the outside and kind of came with a little bit of a run through. I thought was maybe a little interesting, and I was a little surprised they lined Indigo Woods lower than Dandona, but I guess I shouldn't be. She finished ahead of him.
Yeah, well, part of it is the Indigo Woods draws the rail, has a lot of upside, right? That was only its third start, and the connections take money in Kentucky, but and I kind of like that horse. Down on the rail, that can be worth. You already said Dandona has a tendency to be wide. If Indigo Woods gets a rail trip and Dandona goes wide, that's worth 3 or 4 lengths. And is Dandona 3 or 4 lengths better than Indigo Woods? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So to me, Indigo Woods is more likely to win, but I do think you'll probably get a shorter price on Indigo Woods as well. This is one of those where they're kind of tepid with the favorites. The 8 Storms Wakes 3-1, the 9 Tam Tams 5-2 coming out of that same race, right? So they're on the outside. Tam Tam does look like has the speed to get the lead in here.
And too, like, I feel like a lot of times players navigate towards these horses that are always kind of right there, right? Like, she's never really been beat all that much. Even when, she's 2 for 6, but like otherwise she's always been pretty close. And I feel like a lot of players like those type of horses, just that,
well, especially on the turf, right?
She's
been really good on the turf, but she'll have to use her a little bit to get the lead, and maybe somebody goes. You never know. A lot of times, none of them go, and they just let the horse, get an easy lead. But certainly seemed like an underlay. Those two, the 8 and the 9, I'd be willing to beat those. I think Dandona, Indigo Woods both could turn the tables on them this time. And if I had to pick a winner among those, it would be Indigo Woods, just because that horse has more upside than the other horses, and has a good rider and a good post, and that's just worth so much. We already talked about how important saving ground is in turf racing. That horse has the best chance to get that kind of trip, which is pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, Dandona's come wide every race. I mean, every race she's had, she's hooked out wide. So,
although Rad does value saving ground, and so
he hasn't ridden her yet.
Yeah, he has not been on her. Pratt's been on her, and he's pretty good at saving ground. But you're right. She gets a smaller field. She's got a rider, a good post. Not a great post, but a good post, and a rider who could work a trip. So you would think this might be the time where she doesn't end up getting hung wide on both turns. And then, she and Indigo Woods are probably, pretty competitive with one another if she gets a decent trip. Anybody else you like in here?
I was trying to convince myself to like the 2 a little bit, the Ben Curtis, Brendan Walsh, just on upside, adding blinkers. And I think Curtis is actually a pretty underrated rider. I think he does a good job, and Brendan obviously wins a ton. This was nothing more than just like thinking, maybe this horse will jump up a little bit. I know Gaffleone went elsewhere because he'd ridden the horse the last couple times, but I thought maybe at a price kind of interesting.
Yeah, they could only ride one of them. I really like that horse. So I really liked its debut. It kind of got a setup, but it finished well. Its second start, it got in a no chance trip behind it, just a plodding pace. And just incredibly slow pace. Had no chance in that one. Kind of the opposite of the first race. And then I think because of that, they were kind of aggressive the next time out. Unfortunately, they got in that horrible spot where you're chasing a runoff leader.
Yeah.
And that just was not the spot this horse wanted to be in. It was kind of strange. They put the blinkers on now. I'm not sure why they're doing that. The first two races they tried to rate her even with an incredibly slow pace. Second time they sort of sent her. It's like they've doing the wrong thing every time.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the goal is to put her in position, but not, be chasing some runoff leader, because she's probably going to get the rail because she's got a lot more speed than her stablemate on the inside, right? So Ben Curtis is pretty good at saving ground. He's got a European background, and she's going to get a rail trip too, and she's going to be forward. She could get a great trip, I think, at a big price. So.
Yeah, I was trying to look. I always look whenever I see a blinkers on or some big equipment change like that. I always look to their first workouts after the last race, because I feel like usually the trainers kind of start trying it a couple workouts before. And I didn't see anything that was like jump off the page, as far as
I unfortunately couldn't watch them. They're on the scent at Turfway, but so anyway, I think she's very interesting at a price. She has a lot of upside, and she gets. Her last two trips have been bad. The one for two different reasons. The 1-2 back was impossibly, way back on a super slow pace, and the last one, she ended up chasing in a chase mode all by herself after a lone leader, and she kind of cut into the lead, and then just that wasn't her trip. So, and that was 1 mile and 3/16. So she's actually cutting back in distance in a race where a lot of the other ones are actually stretching out. So she probably got a lot out of that race in terms of fitness as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
She's, to me, is the value in here. So what price do you need on Dandona? 6 to 1?
Anything, if I said 4 to 1 or higher, I really like her in the spot.
All right. Yeah, I kind of like her too. I think she and Indigo Woods but I like Surprise Ending as the value, and then I would be playing her with those two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to beat those two favorites on the outside. And there really wasn't much else in here that I was interested in. I mean, there's a few others that you could make a little of a case for, but that's kind of how I saw this race. Anything else on this one?
I don't think so.
All right. So that's the first race where we both kind of have an opinion, a bettable opinion, probably. Me with Surprise Ending, you with Dandona, and I would be playing that exacta probably too, if I were betting.
We can come together.
Yes, we can leverage our opinions. Okay, so let's go to the second to last penultimate race on the card.
The Belém.
Yes, yeah, you can.
I've always said that everybody should always call it the Belém Stakes. I don't think Travis is going to do it though.
It was funny because I was at the Breeders' Cup that year, and it was so quiet after that.
Oh man,
race.
It just sucked the wind out of everything, right?
It was wild.
That I go back and watch that once in a while, and it's like I think it was Garrett Gomez that rode Blame, and it was such a good ride. Like he just kind of snuck out from down underneath there, and big time got the jump and held. Oh man, they don't make them like Zenyatta and stuff like that anymore. I feel like those races where you were just spine tingling. I mean, just unreal.
Oh, it was almost. She was so far back in that.
Well, that was
it was ridiculous. She was another zip code.
I feel like she validated herself just as much in her one defeat as she did her 19 wins, because it was like I remember I thought she was being eased on the first turn. I'm like, something's wrong, and then she still comes with her run. Like she was the coolest.
It was like well, the thing was, it was her first time, on dirt
other than Oaklawn.
Right, that Oakland, right. And so you're thinking maybe she just wasn't handling the surface. She was so far back, that's what you kind of thought, she doesn't like it. She just doesn't like the surface. But it was just Mike Smith, I guess, being a little too patient. So anyway, the Belém Stakes.
Some people gave him flack for that. I thought it was a great call. It's like, to me, like she was the story, even though she got beat. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what I liked about it is it wasn't one of these scripted calls they do for the Stallion commercial, Oh,
yeah.
Because it was a truly heartfelt, emotional call,
Yes, absolutely.
It was genuine. It wasn't fake.
You
That's what I like about it. It
remember
was
when the
sincere.
remember when the Run Happy baby started? Like every race caller was like, "The son of Run Happy," because they knew that Mac was going to make 30 commercials about the horse. So every time there was a Run Happy offspring, oh, the daughter of Run Happy here.
Yeah. Do you guys get paid for doing those? Because man,
No.
some of these announcers sound like they're getting paid.
I've been in a few of them now, and I've never seen a nickel. So, and I'm in SAG because I did movie, so I should be getting something. Maybe we get a hat if you show up at the trial. I mean, Colemas would be the guy to ask because I feel like he had that 5-year window where he called every big race on the planet.
All right, so let's talk about this race. This is one where Hit Show is. Wait, before I say anything, Vibe is out of the race. So
that changed. Okay, I didn't know
he's
that.
out of the race. So he was the lone speed. Now there's no speed. So that the race is no Vibe, no speed. Hit Show will be a heavy favorite. He's a Dubai World Cup winner, won a lot of money. I don't think he's ever really shown he's a grade 1 horse in the U.S., but this is a grade 3 race. Yeah. So what are you thinking? Are you a Hit Show man?
Well, man, this kind of changes everything now. I didn't know about that. Yeah, because to me,
it just came out I just saw an hour before we started recording.
I went to the diner and had chicken noodle soup for dinner. I was reading and
oh man, you got to be on it 24/7. I know. Come on, this is Sport Kings Pod. We expect you to be on top of
Thursday is my day for no horse racing, and so I was a little bad about that. But yeah, because my whole thing with Vibe was it was like a major question mark. It's like, okay, he's doing 2 turns, but he's just had such perfect trips. But he's been very good. There's a horse in the last race that I kind of have that same issue with, that laggy nose, where it's like he just seems like he's always in a good spot. But I think it's because he's good and he puts himself there.
Well, and it looked like Vibe was going to get an easy lead again.
That's what I mean.
He couldn't hold that against him, really.
I know, and so it's like
now he's going to run in the Met, so he'll get crushed probably. So I guess Rapoli wants to run in New York. So you got to race without any real pace. Probably the only horse that really gets hurt by that.
You think the 2 goes maybe?
I think so with the rider, Jose Ortiz, and that's who I would expect to make a run, early run for the lead. And there's nobody. I'm not saying he'll get an easy lead, but he'll have the rail and the lead in a soft pace, which is not a bad place to be in a 2-turn dirt race, right?
No, he was kind of because I was just looking at alternatives for Vibe, because again, he did look like he was going to have a pretty rosy trip, but he's always had that. And it's like, what if he doesn't? And so I was kind of trying to talk myself into liberal arts a little bit as maybe a big price. I don't know anything about the new trainer. I know it's not Brad Cox, and I don't know anything about the rider. So I kind of got scared away off of liberal arts just because of the connections. And so I was looking towards Capital Idea and then Hall of Fame down toward the inside as alternatives to Vibe. But I just, again, was this Rattle and Roll I've never been on board with. He's I'm sure you have these horses where when you like him, they don't run, and when you hate him, they run off the screen. And he's kind of one of those for me. I didn't like him in the Clark a couple years ago, and he runs big. And so I kind of always, I tend to steer away from him anymore. And so I guess Hall of Fame and Capital Idea would be the 2 I would be most interested in outside of Vibe. But again, just kind of trying to restructure, looking at the race, and even with optics. I mean, I feel like the plot probably changes a whole heck of a lot because he was kind of
now in optics you can, if you
I can take him out. You can
take Vibe off. Yeah, that's a really cool new feature. You can take a horse out
here, hide from Poe. Okay,
you can.
Okay, now it looks like the 2 and the 3 and the 4 sits a good trip. So yeah, maybe Capital Idea becomes my my default, because he was kind of close up in the Ghost Zapper, and that's what he's run his better races when he is a little closer.
But the plot does show Hall of Fame on the lead, on the rail
with the surface and distance,
surface and distance. You're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think he's going to get a pretty good trip, and he has, the second off a layoff, a golden pattern that I like a lot. So I think he's going to run, and he's, pretty lightly raced. Yeah. He's not young, but he was off for a long time, and he was good last year. He got really good there. He ran second at Touch Upon a Star, which that horse is tough to beat in the fairgrounds. Right.
That was the Sierra Leone didn't fire race, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then he ran third behind
the Fierceness.
Yeah. then something went wrong. But I mean, he had a win streak before that. He was a pretty good horse. And now he goes second off the layoff. That was clearly a prep, 7 furlong. That was
and
just
the toughest race of the weekend.
Right. He wasn't going to win that. He got his tightener, and now they've got him in a race where he belongs. And I think he's going to, he's the one to beat probably.
Yeah.
But the other horse you mentioned, I think is the one to bet. That's Liberal Arts. The trainer is a big question, but this horse, has run some good races before, and he had it was kind of a crazy spot for him last time, right? Off a long layoff, they ran him against Sovereignty
and
Journalism and White and he kind of got away slow, and then he made a big middle move and got right up to the leaders.
With this 4% rider on board. That's what worries me a little bit.
And and
training
a trainer
at Fairmount Park.
Yeah, and a trainer who runs it Hawthorne and Fairmont. But I'll tell you, the trainer's hot.
Yeah.
The last 7 starts, 3 wins, 7 in the money. And she hasn't had a horse like this, but this horse ran pretty good, before Brad Cox had it. And it has talent. Probably got a lot out of that race. It couldn't keep pace once they really kicked it in, but it did show the ability to be sitting close to what was a lot hotter pace than this is going to be.
Yeah.
Got within a length of the leaders. Maybe they get aggressive and go right to the front in here. And, second off the layoff, the horse kind of couldn't keep pace, but never really quit. Probably got a whole lot out of the race. With the trainer, and his horse is not going to get bet in the rider. You're going to get a big price. But I think, it's certainly not impossible. I'd be willing to definitely bet this horse in here, especially now with Vibe out.
Yeah. So
they might get it. They might get aggressive.
Cox sold the horse on a digital sale, and so they bought this horse for $120,000 last year. So, okay. I was just while we were doing this Googling this horse's history.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so he was a digital sale, 120 grander last year. But yeah, the connection, like I said, the rider gives me a lot of pause against who he's going to be riding against.
Yeah, but if they just send him.
Well, and like you said, the 21 morning line, you're probably going to get a good chunk of that, right? I mean, obviously everything with Vibe, everything does shift a little bit.
Yeah, but I think his horse will be 21.
Yeah. And now it's just a 7-horse field.
Yeah. And so I would love just to see them descend.
Yeah.
And horse could wire. It doesn't have to go fast to get the lead in here.
Yeah.
And if he goes as fast as he went last time, he'll definitely be on the lead. So.
He was one of the ones, just based off the optics plot, like he was one of the first I went to look at just because I was like, oh, like, big square and should be closing if anything. But yeah. And
he doesn't have to be like based off his last race. There's no reason why he couldn't be on the lead in here.
Well, those 2 wins he had in late 24, he was just sitting right close up. It was smaller fields, but I mean, he was still only a length off the lead early on.
Right. Yeah. So I to me, they get aggressive with him. He could shock everybody, I think. And he kind of got away slow, and they kind of rushed him up, and then it kind of lit him up last time. But if he could just break alertly and they let him roll, urge him a little bit early to get position, get over and get to the lead, he might shock them all.
I mean, he's a big separator in the pick 5, right? Because the cornucopian probably becomes. I mean, is he the single of the sequence?
Let's see.
Because I do think the last race, I
think Hall of Fame is probably. Okay. I mean, a hit show is probably going to
hit show. Okay, well, because just thinking,
hit show and cornucopian.
Because a lot of people are going to go too deep in the blame, right? Like they're going to maybe hit Hall of Fame and hit show, and because the last race, I do think Laganos and maybe Quattro Centos. I think there'll be some other underneath horses some folks might go to, but I was kind of trying to just think of the layout of the sequence itself, and there's not that, like, at least to me, jump off the page signal that there is sometimes in these stakes pick 5s.
But in that late pick 3, hit show is probably going to be the single for everybody.
Yeah,
and certainly with the high minimum, you hit a horse like Liberal Arts and you get paid.
Well, no, I thought it was an all turf pick 3 though. That late one.
No, it's just a late. Pick
it's their $3 late. Okay. I thought you meant the turf.
Just the last 3 races. No, they have a special all turf pick 4.
4. That's what. Okay, gotcha.
but we didn't cover all those races. But we have these last three would be in their late pick three with the higher minimum.
With the high, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So if you could catch a horse like Liberal Arts or even Surprise Ending, you usually get rewarded with the higher minimum. And if you can beat the obvious single, that can really help.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably is hit show in this sequence. So anything you'd be thinking about playing? You said Hall of Fame or Capital Idea. What kind of price would you need?
I mean, like I said, I feel like I don't have. I mean, everything changed because what you told me,
right?
With the scratch. So I'll be honest, I hadn't thought about it without that horse is a big part of the equation. I mean, Hall of Fame's going to dip. Like I said, hit show and Hall of Fame are going to dip weight. I mean, it's how many points? It's 40 points almost on the line.
Yeah, Hall of Fame will probably be the strong second choice now.
Yeah.
Liberal Arts will probably still be 20-1.
Yeah, maybe. Capital Idea might still stay at 6-1 or something like that.
Yeah, he probably won't be 10-1, but
no,
but he'll be after Hall of Fame and hit show.
Well, and Rattle and Roll will take some money. I mean,
but the rate, that he's the one hurt the most by the scratch of vibe, right? Because there's really no pace on.
Yeah.
Now if they all bunch up, that probably gives him a good chance, though. Yeah. I mean, if nobody goes, but I'm hoping that either Liberal Arts or Hall of Fame, one of those two gets aggressive.
Somewhat aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, and I hope it's Liberal Arts because that's who I'm going to bet.
All right.
But I'll back him up. Maybe especially like a Hall of Fame Liberal Arts exact. I'd be interested in that, and I probably would back him up even with hit show because it'll still pay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that race maybe Hall of Fame probably won't be bettable. Maybe Capital Idea for you. Sounds like.
Yeah.
Would you be well, we'll wait until let's do the last race and we'll come back and we'll talk about any bets you might want to do. Horizontal bets. All right, so let's go to the last race, the one that finishes up all the picks. It's another grade 3 on the turf, 8.5 furlongs, 1.16 miles. For older horses, this is an interesting race. A lot going on in here. As you said, Laganos, he's the morning line favorite. Quattro Centro, second choice. Brilliant Birdie, third choice. I think all three of those could buy for favoritism. Quattro Centro.
I can't think Brilliant Birdie does, right? He's got to. He's got to stay where he's at, right? I mean, I know he's dropping, but like he hasn't.
Cherie DeVoe horses get bet, and especially in Kentucky, and he's dropping out of better races, right?
Yeah. I guess I thought the bloom was off the rose with him a little bit, but you're right. This is actually just a good spot for him to be in.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great, he was third by one in a grade 1 last year in Keeneland. These horses don't have that kind of race on their resume.
Yeah,
right?
Rhetorical's really good, yeah.
So I would think, especially with the connections, that horse will get bet.
Okay.
But I don't know. We'll see. But I think those three.
Because Quattro Cento's the question in terms of how far is he going to lead him, right? Because he does look like, I thought, a clear leader in this spot.
Yeah, he's going to get loose.
Yeah,
but he doesn't always win when he gets loose, right? This is that's the question with him.
The race. When he won the race at Tampa, like he got smashed late, and he just walked. Like it was just a facile win. And I just remember thinking, he looked a winner every step of the way and kind of did the same thing at Gulfstream. It was obviously a little bit closer, but then he got ran down last time when he didn't get the lead right away last time, but he did end up working it there. And again, I got to think that to me, it's just a question mark on him. Like, can they outkick him? And Laganos, what I kind of said about him previously, like every time he would be in those races, especially like I guess before the fairgrounds, like the Bradley and the River City and the Muniz, like he was always a contender, but he just kind of wasn't getting there. But then all of a sudden it seems like he kind of figured some things out or something, but he always, I feel like he's getting first run on the late closers lately and just kind of able to outkick him. But I don't think he's some like stone cold lock. I was kind of intrigued by the one a little bit, West Hollywood, who did come from pretty far back to at least get within shouting distance of him last time. Again, maybe needs the setup, maybe needs somebody to kind of go to hook Quattro Cento early and kind of come get him late. But Laganos, I guess, has grown on me a little bit just because I think I thought he was a little unreliable, and it seems like he's changed that narrative. for
he's certainly been pretty solid the last three. You can't fault those races. Although the last one, he did just barely get up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that
Um,
was what I was thinking is maybe if he goes after Quattrocento early, maybe it does set up for someone to come from further back.
so I didn't hear a bet in there anywhere.
Oh, I mean, West Hollywood would be the interested
Okay,
price.
West Hollywood. Oh yeah, you'll get a price on him.
Because I don't
Yeah.
like Quattrocento. Like I said, it's one of those things where if he just shakes loose and beats me at a short price, then so be it. I haven't been wowed by him, and I do think Laganos is going to not let him get too far. I feel like Laganos makes his move usually at the quarter, and so I don't, I think Quattrocento wants to be very, very loose. I kind of wanted to talk myself into Minaret Station a little bit too, who was, kind of just went right up the ladder there as a 2-year-old, and then only ran once at 3, and it was a winning stakes effort at Churchill. And then last time, maybe just a little short behind a couple of these, but only a length behind Laganos, and I thought could move up at a price too.
Yeah, I love the 6 Minaret Station. First of all, Walton, I've made so much money bet, and this horse, I've caught this horse at a huge price. So I'm a fan. Yeah, I had him at 38-1.
Oh, this was the bourbon. Yeah, yeah.
You gotta like a horse you catch at 38-1, right? So,
he doesn't owe you any money.
No, and that was before everyone was on to Will Walden, and I was, and I was like cashing all kinds of price horses with him. And now he's no secret, but this horse is super talented. I mean, he's got that huge closing kick you want to see in a turf horse. Clearly had some physical issues. Probably needed that race, but it wasn't just, he still finished like he always does. He just got too far behind for some reason. They let him, he got shuffled back dead last going into the turn. There's no way he was going to make up that much ground. Still only got beat a length.
And all those horses were not fire. I mean, Laganos and Quattrocento had full winters. I mean, they were kind of
right. They weren't. He's got the upside. He's lightly raced. He's got what I call the golden pattern. He's only had up until before that race. He only had one race in that 2 years. So he's got tremendous upside. I think he's the most talented horse in the race, and his trainer always has him ready. And now he's got my golden pattern. This is a good golden pattern because. This horse he's going to run the race of his life. And so if he gets any kind of trip, I think he wins. I don't believe he's going to be anywhere near 15-1. Yeah. No. But, I think given this big field and a lot of other ways to go, could get 6 or 8-1. I think he's a standout. So to me, he's the one horse I'm really excited about in the sequence. And there's another horse I like in here a lot too. If it wasn't for Minaret Station, I'd be all over him, and that's the 11 Cole Battle, who he ran some races on the turf early on. He's just a tough as nails kind of horse, and he's another one who is on my golden pattern. He first race off a long layoff was a nice effort. Now they're trying him back on the turf, which I kind of like, and second off the layoff, he could run big. There's no, his turf races weren't bad at all. And the fact that they ran him a couple times on the turf early in his career tells you they thought he was, kind of a turf horse. Yeah. And he was one of these horses that was just not a mile and a quarter horse, probably not quite the caliber of some of the other horses on the Derby Trail, but he ran some good races as a 3-year-old. So I think he could run really big. I just don't like the post for him. Corey Lannery likes to save ground. He's one of the guys that's really value saving ground, but he's not as good at it as some of the others. But if he gets lucky, he could, he'll probably either be aggressive on this horse. And since Quattrocento is really the only other speed, they might just try to follow him around. And if he gets that kind of trip, he just might be there at the end. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I really like Minaret Station flying late. And he'll be my key to all my bets on this sequence, including the late pick 3 and the late double and anything I bet in this race. I really like Minaret Station quite a bit.
It's funny about Cole Battle too. I forget who it was, but there was a handicapper I remember making a note because there was somebody I respected who said they'd been waiting for him to get on the turf. And then I looked up and I just saw I was like, well, turf races weren't all that great. Like they were fine, but Because what I remember about him was, like you said about the distance, like he would always make a big move and he would sustain it sometimes in like the Rebel and those mile and 16th races, like the Arkansas Derby just kind of flattened out after making the big move. And those maybe a little bit longer races.
But he didn't get good trips in either of those turf races. So he just kind of broke really slow the first one and he finished up nicely. And the second one, he just got hung wide. We talked about that. I mean, he was extremely wide in that second one. So, and the horses that make those kind of moves, those are the kind I like on the turf, middle distance turf horses, right? Because you don't have to run as hard. On the dirt, when you make that move,
you've already ran a half mile.
It's a lot more energy expended throughout the race on a dirt than on the turf. It's usually just like the last, quarter mile, half mile. So you got that move in you and you get to save energy early. You can finish it off, right?
Yeah. What about Macero? Like I remember this horse won at Keeneland. I guess it's been almost a couple of years now, a year and a half or so ago. And it was like this big late down the center kind of kick. And I remember thinking like this horse can really, and then he just got annihilated the next couple of starts. And so I kind of got away from watching him. We saw him at Colonial and he ran good. And then he won last time gate to wire for Pratt, and Pratt gets back on board. I was kind of curious to see what he does this time.
Yeah, he could maybe clunk up for something, but he seems a little overmatched in here to me. These are better horses.
Yeah, he's maybe just good at that kind of allowance level or listed stake.
I mean, you could make a case for the other. Giacoso is another one with the golden pattern who was pretty good 3-year-old making his second start. I wouldn't be shocked to see him hit the board at a price, so I'd be using him if I played like exactas and tries. Beach Gold's run some pretty good races. Anglophile, it's been a disappointment for me. I thought he'd be better going longer than he has been. I don't really like him on the cutback, but he's not a bad horse. I mean, it's just a good, interesting race for sure. But I really like Minaret Station. I think that horse is very, very talented. If he just holds together, he's obviously had some injuries, but I expect him to run really big in here. I just not sure what the price will be. This is one that could get T.O. Elvis late. So I might want to be trying to play bets into him.
Wasn't Firenze Fire the original T.O. Elvis? Remember that Dwyer?
He was one of them.
It was that Dwyer stakes, the one year he went 6-1 to 5-2 and then ran off the screen.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That was Jason Service days.
Yes, the trainer became infamous as well.
Yeah, so. that was the one he was crying in the winner's circle, I think. I think that was with Maggie, and he was crying.
It might have been. I don't remember that part.
I think he's getting out pretty soon.
Well, that'll be interesting. We'll see. He'll probably be running horses at a non-HISA track.
I think Jorge got out, but then I think they sent him away.
All right. So in this race, I'm trying to remember where you landed.
I kind of like the 1, the 6, and probably Laganos too.
The 1 and the 6, right? And Laganos. Okay, so you can put something together there. I think you'll get your price on the 1.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the 6, what the price will be. I mean, it's not going to be the favorite, but I don't think it's going to be anything close to 15-1. If it is,
he should come down below Mercante and stuff like that, right?
You would think.
Yeah.
I think
Mercante was a cool horse, but
a 6-1 morning line would have made more sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't. He's not. Brilliant Birdie will be shorter. Quattro Centro will be shorter. Laganos will be shorter, but after that, he's probably the 4th choice, 6-1, maybe a little higher, but I still like him. And in some of the picks and stuff, he may be higher. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I think he really stands out in here. So we'll see. But we'll see. He doesn't owe me any money, that's for sure.
I love that you had him with that big score, because that was like a 2-year-old day, right? At Keeneland, or like wasn't it it was the final preps before the Breeders' Cup, I think.
Yeah, and he had overcome a really slow pace and still got it done at Indiana Downs, and he had a total excuse in his first race. So, and I knew that everything Walden was saddling was running, so I was all over that one, and especially at that price.
Your 2 riders in this race, Torres and Lannery, they're about 0 for 40 combined at this meet. We got to get them off the schneid. Torres is a good rider, right? I mean, he doesn't look good at Oaklawn and stuff.
Yeah, I hope he didn't get his horse a good ride last time.
Yeah.
But he just got shuffled back at the wrong time and just had way too much to make up. Up until that point, he was kind of in an okay spot. He was relaxed and not that far back, but he just let him get shuffled all the way back, and then it was just too much ground to cover up. And he probably needed the race anyway. So I'm hoping that the fact he didn't, he ran fourth and they're behind a couple of these horses will help the price a bit in here. So we'll see. All right. So in terms of bets, would you be thinking about playing a double in any doubles or pick threes or any pick five?
I feel like the problem for me was the races I liked were kind of the every other race. Like I basically liked the turf races, at least in this particular sequence, because the hit show race, especially like I said, it changed everything with Vibe because he was kind of either the single or maybe go against Price.
All right, so you really don't have any.
No, I feel like my opinions. The other horse I liked is off the sequence. In the fourth race, that there's another Betty horse that. What was it?
Okay, well, go ahead and say who's the other horse you like.
What was it? It was not pinup. Betty's Pearl, 3 horse in the fourth race. I just thought her effort at Churchill on Oaks Day was really good. Like closed in at like a super slow pace on the main track, and I just thought it was a really good effort. 6-1 with Gutierrez and Brian Lynch. So fourth.
That's a really interesting race because there's some potential monsters.
There's some
good
horses in there. Yeah.
Like that 12 Mashallah just ran off the screen on its debut, and a couple of horses came out of that race and one going long.
Yeah, the 3 debut winners are all the 3 outside horses.
Yeah,
it's 10, 11, and 12.
Well,
going a flat mile, but it's a 1-turn.
Yeah, the 11's a Will Walden horse who ran well. He was kind of lucky to win because Kimura on the horse that ran second stopped riding at the first wire just for a second, enough to let La Casa.
Some guy did that again the other day. Well, but there wasn't even a first wire. It was Churchill. It was that 9 horse. I guess it was Friday.
Well, I remember race. Willie Shoemaker did that in the Derby. There's like there's like a post or something that I don't know.
There's a post inside the 16th pole.
I think that's what threw him off, and that's might be what threw off Kimura. You'd think they would have done something about that by now, but that was only 50 years ago.
Yeah. Well, getting close.
I might recall that incorrectly because it was before my time, but I think I heard about that. But also there's a 7-horse Soaring High who I like quite a bit in there, who is not making his third start, but those 3 horses all have talent.
It's a nice race.
Yeah, it is. So I think you'll get a lot more than 6-1 on Betty's Pearl in there.
Let's hope so.
I don't think I'd be betting her. I think one of those 3. Maybe 2 of those 3, maybe all 3 of them are going to run big races. They're the kind that could be, running in the Haskell or the Travers at some point.
Yeah, because that Passerine was one on Oaks Day, if I remember right.
Yeah, and that one's probably not as good as the other 3 I just mentioned. But those outside 7 and 9, 7, 10, 11, and 12, all pretty good horses. But especially the 7, 11, and 12, and maybe the 12 in particular. That horse could be anything. He was. He just went to the lead without any effort at all, and then they geared him down, and then he just blasted off in the stretch. So it'll be interesting. That race will be fun. But let's get back to this sequence. What's the one?
Dandona's the horse I like the most.
Dandona, that's right. I knew there was one races. Of them that that was your wide trip horse.
Yeah,
last time.
Yeah, you
gets IRAD, maybe saves ground.
Station now too.
Yeah. So there you can do your own parlay, Dandona and Minaret Station.
There you
go. Or you could play a pick. You could play the pick 3 and just, go with Hall of Fame and liberal arts.
I like that 4 horse too. That mod horse.
Capital Idea. There you go. So
there you go.
Maybe you could play
single 3 by 2 or 3. There you go.
Yeah, single by 3 by 2. Yeah, and your single is not
$1 minimum
to
Churchill.
favorite.
Is still 50 cents.
It's still 50. Oh, the late pick 3 is a $3.
Oh, that's right.
Minimum.
That's your $3 one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could. It's the one good bet. That player friendly bet. So I think you got a bet there. You got the 6 singled. The bookends are the turf race you like. You got your 1, right? And
West Hollywood.
And the 6. There you go. You could even put in Laganos if you wanted. And then you could play multiple tickets. And then you've got in the middle, you could have Capital Idea And I don't know, I like liberal arts, but Hall
I'm
of Fame.
gonna leave liberal arts off.
Hall of Fame and Capital Idea.
Hall of Fame and Capital Idea.
There you go. So you go 1 by 2 by 2 or 3.
There you go.
At $3 minimum. It's not going to cost you that much, and it's going to pay something pretty good because it's not going to chalk out because you single the horse. It's not going to be the favorite, and you could catch another, Capital Idea or either one of those in the end. In the last race, you're going to get paid. So I like it.
All right, well, very good. I got travel money. I got to pay for.
There you go.
My colonial trip, I always make into a little vacation, so I got to.
So what's your favorite? What are you going to stop off after?
I'm going to do a little minor league baseball tour. I'm going to go to Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, which is the AAA of the Marlins. And then I think it's to the Augusta, South Carolina. I think it's the Augusta Fireflies or something they're called, or Columbia. I forget which one. I have this marked down, but I haven't looked lately. And then I'm going to go to Greenville, South Carolina for the Sunday day game, and then I'll drive up to Colonial on that Monday. So,
all right, minor league baseball is fun.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things about being down here in Florida. Is like I live 10 minutes from the Clearwater Phillies, and I'm about 9 minutes from the Dunedin Blue Jays, and so I usually go to probably 1 or 2 games a week.
It's so local. It's still kind of got that feel of the old time local sports, right?
It's $8 for a ticket, $10 for a ticket. You can't.
And they always got something going on for the kids and stuff. So it's fun. I like it. We have minor league teams. I try to go to too. Same in hockey. I like to go to the minor league hockey.
Yeah, the minor league hockey's a lot of fun. Yeah, you guys, the Yakima Bears, are those your closest ones, or is there a Tri-City team?
There's a Tri-Cities team.
Okay.
And
the
Spokane team.
Yeah. Spokane used to be
a bunch of Canadian teams. They go to Moose Jaw and stuff like that. But I don't ever go watch.
Wenatchee has a minor league hockey team that does pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of, they're the younger guys. Some of them end up going into the NHL.
Yeah, well, because they all like stay with families there in the area, so it's kind of. I always think that's kind of a neat part of junior.
I have friends that host players every.
What are they? It starts with
year.
a B, right? What's it? What the hell is it called? There's a name for your. I'm butchering.
I'm not sure what you're trying to get at.
Well, there's a name for the families that host.
What are
they called? Billet. I knew it was a B. Billet families. They're called billet families. But yeah, like they literally make sure you go to school and make sure you're fed. And
because they're all high school kids.
Yeah. And I was reading an article once. There was some guy that was like a major NHL star, and he had said that like this particular host family had hosted 3 kids that ended up playing in the NHL out of like 10 years that they did it. And so all the kids that would go wanted that family because they were the lucky house. They're like, Sidney Crosby played there, whoever it was,
All right. Anything else? I do have one question from a listener. Anything else on the card you want to mention?
No. I think we're good. I'm glad we taped earlier, Chris. I would have been asleep by our originally scheduled time.
Yeah, sorry. Both of us can talk, so you got to expect it. So a question was, which racetracks in Washington have you been to?
In Washington State?
Yeah, in Washington State.
Well, Emerald and Long Acres, obviously. I've been to Yakima many times. I went to Playfair once, but I was like 9. I don't really remember it. I feel like it just was like cold and rainy. But yeah, Long Acres and Emerald we went to the most. I mean, I went there every week practically as a kid. But I never made it to any of like the Waitsburg or like there was Washington Fairs. I think there was one like out in Elma, I think, had races for a while. Like there was like a little Washington Fair circuit, as there was in a lot of states. But Yakima is the one that I kind of remember the most in my eye, behind obviously Emerald and Long Acres, because they used to have a program advertisement in the Long Acres program or at the off-track betting place where it was like $29.99 was a hotel, continental breakfast, and free, turf club admission at Yakima and a program. And so my dad, we used to do that, I'd say 3 weekends a winter and drive over there because we had family in Yakima too. My Uncle Mel Stottlemyre, they all lived over there and had a sporting goods store. So when he was not coaching Mel, he was back home in Yakima. So we would go visit them and have dinner. And those were good childhood memories going over to Yakima.
Yeah, I've been to the fair meetings. At Sundowns, Dayton, Waitsburg, Walla Walla. My favorite's Walla Walla because they have a rodeo in the infield. They don't anymore. They had a rodeo going on the infield between races. So like they'd run a race and then they do like barrel racing, and then they'd run a race and they do bronc riding, and then they'd run a race and they'd ride bulls. It was great. It was
Tillamook in Oregon. They still run at Tillamook. It's one of the fairs in Oregon, and they do a thing called the pig and Ford races between races, and they have like old model whatever Fords, and you drive a lap with your Ford on the horse track, and then there's like pigs, and so you pick up a pig, you get out of the car, pick up a pig, put it in the front seat with you, and then do another race. And you can find it on YouTube. It's called the Pig and Ford races. But I got to call a race at Tillamook once, and it was so funny because I was the caller at Portland at the time, and did like the fourth race, and then went down into the grandstand. And this guy in front of me, he goes, "They had the big city caller for the last race." I was probably 27, and calling 4,000 claimers at Portland Meadows, and I was like, "I'm the big city caller."
Yeah. Well, you're in cheese country there at Tillamook.
Well, that's the best thing. They give every horse that enters, the owner or trainer get a block of cheese, and if you win, you get a wheel.
Ooh.
And so I have a picture somewhere on my Facebook. You see, it's Miss Tillamook who has the sash on. She goes around and she presents the block on each of the stalls in the paddock at 15 minutes to post, and then when you win, you get a wheel of the Tillamook cheese.
There you go. You heard it.
It's so fun. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, but unfortunately, none of the tracks we mentioned other than Emerald Downs is still racing.
Well, Tillamook's still going.
Oh, Tillamook. Okay, but the Washington
Oregon
track.
fairs are still there. The Washington ones are all gone. Yeah. Yakima's still there, but they run like dirt bikes and stuff because it's on the fairgrounds, so they never tore it down. But they don't really use they use it for. If you look at like an aerial view, you see like a little tiny track within the track, and so it's like they do dirt bike jumps, and the grandstand's still there, but it's like condemned. But no, the tracks of our youth are mostly
the
gone.
Northwest tracks are pretty much dried up.
I know. I didn't get into I kind of missed that whole circuit. Like as a kid it was, but like once I started working, like those places were all gone. I think Playfair and Yakima both closed like kind of right before I got into
Longacre's closing kind of hurt.
Man, Longacre's the best. I love that, man. In my mind's eye, like that's the best track ever.
It was a good one. All right. Well, that should wrap it up. Just so I do want to give my book one last plug. Bet with the Best Media, all one word. betwiththebestmedia.com. You can go find out about the book. You can order the book, get it shipped to your house. Also, I have links to my takeout web page. So if you want to get smarter about takeout at the different tracks, you can look at that. I encourage you to do that. Understand what the cost of the bet is. That's betwiththebestmedia.com. But that about wrap it up. Anything else you have before we?
I would plug my book, but it's out of print now.
But if you can get it on eBay or something, read it. It's a good book.
There you go.
Go ahead, plug it.
Southbound by Jay. I think the audio book is still available on Amazon, but the publisher went out of business, so I technically own the rights. I just haven't done anything with it again.
Southbound. It's good.
There's
good read. Out there. Yeah, good read. All right, so that'll wrap things up. Thanks again, Jason, for joining us. And to all the listeners, that'll conclude show number 363 of the Sport of Kings podcast. Good luck this weekend, and please enjoy the Brooklyn Boogaloo Blowout. Cheers. Okay, that's a wrap.
Thank you, sir.